Well, speaking of Australia, although this might be in some ways a tenuous transition into something that I was going to talk about on the show anyway, but technically it is true because Australia is in Eurovision. I did want to just take a moment to stop, drift away from the birds, although I appreciate it. I did want to take a moment to talk about the recent news that four countries have dropped out of Eurovision in four countries have dropped out of Eurovision in protest of Israel's inclusion in the 2026 contest. So I will tell you at the top right now, I am a huge Eurovision fan. And I mean that like as much as you can mean it before it starts to get like super weird. And I would still concede that it's like very weird. I'm very into Eurovision given like the very specific things that are of interest to me. I love theater. I love, live performances. I love like cultural displays. I absolutely love so many things about Eurovision. And I just love like seeing little bits of the world. Obviously Eurovision, like all things of this type, is heavily curated and manufactured. And so this is, I don't want to say a big deal because people have been agitating for Israel's disclusion from Eurovision for about, I should say, 3 years now? So it's like since 2024 at least. And so, well, to be honest, I've been advocating for their exclusion from Eurovision for like even longer than that. And not even on the grounds, honestly, of all of the war crimes. It's because like they're terrible. And that's just another thing about this. Like for those of you who don't know, although I imagine most of you do, Eurovision is a song contest that occurs once a year between, a European countries. In reality, it's not European countries specifically. It's countries that have television channels or like broadcasting rules that fit the European Broadcasting Union standards. I think that's the primary criteria for being involved in Eurovision. And so there are usually between like 35 and 46 countries involved in Eurovision. I really can't give you an upward limit because I don't know specifically what stops certain people from being in Eurovision because countries have been in it a few times, they have not been in it a few times, but it's a song contest that takes place once a year between European and Europe countries that conform to European Broadcasting Union standards, where each country submits one songwriter and performer to sing that song to enter into the tournament. And it's just like basically any other song contest. Essentially, it's tournament format. They have a semifinals and then they have a finals, and then like there's a public and sort of there's like a public component where like people, like the popular people, get to vote, like us, the Mondays get to vote, and then like each individual country that has submitted a person, a act, is able to like also contribute points to allocate them in a way that they want to on an individual basis. That's the long and short of it. Obviously, it's super political, just by nature of the ways in which the voting is super political, and the acts are usually too, in the ways in which like it plays out. However, as part of the rules of Eurovision, you're not really allowed to be explicitly political. That's obviously heavily dependent on what the politics are, but in theory, you're not supposed to be heavily political. However, you're also allowed to be excluded from Eurovision due to things like illegally invading another country that is also part of Eurovision, or doing a genocide against an ethnic minority that occupies the region that you want to occupy. And so Russia has been excluded since Eurovision, has been excluded from Eurovision since the invasion of Ukraine. Like basically immediately they were excluded. And it's funny, not funny, but it is coincidental because the weekend before they invaded Ukraine was actually the weekend of that year's Russian semifinals for the Eurovision, if I'm not mistaken. Like it's so like each and by semifinals I mean like their national competition in order to choose who represents them in the Eurovision, because each country chooses their representative in different ways. Like some countries it's a really big deal, like in Scandinavian countries like Sweden and Norway. Like they have like their own basically mini Eurovision. I forget which one has like the Melodin Festival. Like they're all called like the Song Festival of whatever, but in their language. And Russia has one of those too. Although Russia's is a lot less like a mini Eurovision in my experience. I've watched a lot of the semifinals in each country. Russia's is a lot more like a song contest style, like selection process. It feels a lot more like you're watching like American Idol or like Russian Idol. So the weekend before they invaded Ukraine was the Russian national finals for Eurovision, and they were excluded that year. And I'd only mention that because that's like how quick the timeline was, because like that was February 23rd, 24th, depending on where you are in the world, that they invaded. The weekend before was like whatever a week before that would have been, where they had their finals. And then by the spring of that year, they were not allowed in Eurovision because like, you know, they had invaded Ukraine. In 2014, when they invaded Crimea, the Ukrainian contestant, like they sung about it. So I know a lot about Eurovision, so we won't get into all of this. So like you're allowed to be political if it's against certain groups of people, and you're allowed to like or quickly expel people if they're doing things that of course like reference those same values one way or another. But people have been agitating for Israel to be excluded since the genocide really started like flaring up. Like I said, I think they should be excluded in general because their acts are always terrible. Like that, like Israel is like and I know, like I'm not a fan of Israel, and the genocide is one, the apartheid state, all of the other things. But this is a completely objective discernment. I swear, like you can't believe me, but I will tell you this: like Israel has one of the worst acts in Eurovision by far, almost every year, like the most consistently bad. Some countries, like, you know, some countries get a little wonky every year. Like some countries have their own like little esoteric interests and stuff like that. I've been saying esoteric a lot. I can tell you what we're going to be interested in today. Israel is just like uniformly like always pretty bad. The only country that's like worse on average than Israel is like the UK. You know, the UK is usually like the worst performer in Eurovision, but like Israel is either first or like a strong second. But yeah, so Spain, Ireland, the Netherlands, and Slovenia have boycotted or are going to boycott the competition over the vote to allow Israel in. This is a clip from France 24 English. Eurovision, Spain, Ireland, Netherlands, and Slovenia boycott competition over Israel vote. I haven't watched Eurovision since the, like, honestly, like I'm a really big Eurovision fan, and this is not me going like, oh, if you watch it even though Israel's in it, you know, again, in my opinion, if you watch it with Israel in it, you're punishing yourself in a way that I don't know if boycotting it is worse or better. But I have not watched it despite really wanting to since this whole thing kicked off. But you know, Brian Talmy, thank you for the $10 Canadian super chat. Israeli techno is also famously trash. I believe it. I believe it, brother. Let's see what this DW News clip has to say about this. This is just from, I think, yesterday. No, this is from 5 hours ago, but this news dropped yesterday. I subscribe to the Eurovision news sources.
It's time now for the press review, and as we were talking about a little bit earlier, countries are boycotting Eurovision 2026. Deeptika Laurent is here to tell us more.
Well, you know, Peter, Eurovision is more than just a glitzy, campy music competition. It has always been a bastion of European soft power, and this is why it's making a lot of news today. The EBU, the European...
No shade to France, but France also sucks in Eurovision. They have this like really bad habit of sending like a sad white lady to sing and cry on stage, and like people are very rarely feeling that. Or they do something like super weird and send like a stomp style like trash noise band, but like not cool trash noise band, like people like literally playing like trash cans. But that's like only like 1 out of every 4 times. Like the other 3 times it's like sad skinny white girl cry singing, and you're like, Girl, we can't even understand what you are saying.
In soft power, and this is why it's making a lot of news today. The EBU, the European Broadcasting Union, cleared Israel to take part in Eurovision 2026, and it sparked a boycott and the contest's deepest ever crisis. That's according to Politico, because indeed, of course, Ireland, Spain, the Netherlands, and Slovenia are among the countries. The other four countries who have withdrawn participation from next year's Eurovision, saying it was based on Israel's war in Gaza and the resulting humanitarian crisis. Let's show you how the Irish papers are covering it. This is from the Irish Daily Mirror today, which says Eurovision Song Contest. While the
wow, so you stole their headline? That's crazy. That's crazy bold. It's a good one. To be fair, Ireland is historically and was historically very successful in Eurovision, especially during the times of increased British aggression against the Irish people in the 90s. During the Troubles and etc. That being said, Ireland has also gotten pretty bad recently. Sometimes people will cope and go oh, they're not trying to win because it costs too much to host Eurovision, like the Olympics, and I don't know about that one. But yeah, good on them for speaking out. They were some of the first people to speak out about this. And so again, common Ireland W. I was thinking about their Eurovision chances, but common Irish W on this one.
Today, which says Eurovision Song Contest, while the Daily Star on its for its part says that the Irish broadcaster won't be even airing the song contest come Eurovision next year.
Hell yeah.
Ireland shunning Eurovision over, quote, Gaza horrors, the paper says. Meanwhile, from the Israeli papers, this is the Jerusalem Post, going with a pretty straightforward, factual sort of article today on its front page. The article also acknowledges that there's been some anger over allegations that the Israeli...
Wow, so disrespectful to just be Dutch, Spain, Ireland, and Slovenia withdraw from Eurovision. It's what country is Dutch? Not the Netherlands, not Holland. It's not the Dutch, the Spanish, just Dutch.
Government intervened in voting this year after the Israeli candidate received the largest number of public votes during the final, as you see there on the front of the Jerusalem Post as well.
Does this mean that there'll be an impact on the financing of the competition?
Well, it does, and this is precisely what El País is looking.
Yeah, so Spain is kind of the big one there. So Ireland has a long history of being very successful in Eurovision. Not recently, but in general, in the past 30 years or so. The Netherlands, obviously a very big country. They've been pretty successful in Eurovision too. There are obviously some countries that have been really successful. Ireland is one of them. I think Ireland has won 9 or more times. And then Sweden and Norway have also been incredibly successful over the years. And this is more recently. But Spain is one of the big 5 countries that get buys. So most of the countries have to go into the semifinals where they get a preliminary round of popular voting to decide whether they get to the finals or not. I don't always agree with the decisions made in the semifinals. I've been very vocal about my disagreements with some of the decisions made in the semifinals, but they are the decisions of the popular vote. 5 countries, by nature of contributing a substantial amount of money to the Eurovision project, the nonprofit or for-profit corporation that runs Eurovision. Spain, the United Kingdom, Germany, Italy, and France. I don't know why I said I was reading that. I wasn't. They get buys into the final by nature of the fact that they just, they pay the most. So Spain withdrawing from, or at least boycotting, I don't know how much more of the, what the actual breakdown in finances are for how much Spain contributes, but it's theoretically not an insignificant amount. So, we'll see how that impacts this.
Looking at today, the Spanish Daily, in its article on the front page, that is also here in its culture pages. Now, 5 countries provide the biggest amount of funding to Eurovision. That is France, Germany, Italy, Spain, and the UK. They contribute thereabouts of about 350,000 euros each. It also means they automatically qualify each year for the grand final.
It's not as much as I would have imagined.
Spain's absence, though, will mean that 20% of that sum will also be absent next year. It'll put a big dent into Eurovision's final.
Oh no, I think probably like Israel will just pay it from like the American taxpayers' money, right? Like you have to imagine that they'll be grateful to like, you know, show that they like, you know, that they're stepping up. So they'll just use American taxpayer dollars to cover like Spain's part of this.
Finances, and as El País explained,
hopefully that triggers
the
other
EBU
people to
has
pull
been
out
trying
then.
to compensate for this by extending the deadline for registration, hoping that some of these countries might change their mind, but also encouraging other countries like Romania and Bulgaria to also participate next year.
We've got more
Yeah, because some countries just don't like participate frequently. Like about 20 or so like participate every year, like maybe 25 or so. I would be really revealing how deeply invested I am in this contest to name the ones. But like some just come every other year, like whenever they have like extra cash to like, you know, throw at something like this. I feel like Romania and not Bulgaria, but Romania has participated relatively frequently. Moldova less so. Sometimes Romania, like a lot of like countries like low key have bangers. Like a lot of countries that you wouldn't expect, like low key, like have like some serious hits coming out of them. Like Latvia has had some serious hits. Like Romania has had some like pretty good ones too. A lot of countries are at that. I mean, this is just a personal preference for me that is not, again, matched by like the taste of the audience. Countries are at their worst in Eurovision when they're just doing like the you know, Kelly Clarkson white girl ballad, and they're at their best when they're doing like something like cultural, like steeped in their cultural tradition. But like, yeah, sometimes people have some really like some bangers. Ukraine has had some bangers too. Like I won't judge based on anything like other than the quality of the music. That's why I say like, you know, Russia has had some like hits. Has had some crazy hits. Israel not so much. The UK not so much. I mean, ABBA got their start at Eurovision with Waterloo in '74. Ooh, that's probably not right, or probably isn't. It's even more embarrassing. Celine Dion won Eurovision. That's one of the reasons. Like the one unwritten rule of Eurovision is that you should not send a famous band, and that's one of the reasons the UK loses a lot, because sometimes the UK just gets desperate and sends like Olivia Newton-John or something. And you're like, okay, you're 0 points. 0 points, because that's not what the contest is. The contest isn't who has the most famous singer in their country. Like the contest isn't like can people remember who Robbie Williams is? The contest is like amateur singer songwriter. All right. Did you see the Eurovision episode of Doctor Who? I was completely unaware of that. Maybe one of the worst episodes of all time. I believe it. I'm not the biggest Doctor Who fan. I watched a decent amount of it when it was like first doing its revival with Billie Piper and I can't remember is that like David Tennant. And then I watched maybe like up through halfway the next Doctor, and then I just never really kept up with it. I mean, back then it was pretty good. I mean, I thought it was fine. I don't know what the consensus on Doctor Who now is amongst like the cool kids. Like, is it trash? I mean, it's probably trash now. Because I think anything that goes on that long has the consequence of like fans of the show starting to write for the show, which tends to degrade the quality of anything unless like there's a lot of discernment given to like what fans are allowed to join. But yeah, I guess Disney owns it now. Oh, okay. So that tells me everything I need to know. It went anti-woke. I can't even imagine what that would mean. Well, I mean, I don't think that... Do we need to watch any more of this? I feel like I gave all of the news. I feel like I gave all of the news about Eurovision. But I guess maybe watch a little bit more in case there's like a response from Israel. It's probably going to be something like we're going to occupy more land or something like unrelated to
competition controversy with the World Cup draw featuring Donald Trump this in a few hours' time.
Indeed, we'll finally
They're going to let America into
the
Eurovision.
groups of each of the 48 competing nations in next year's World Cup. That will, of course, take place in the U.S., Canada, and Mexico. L'équipe here.
I guess they're gonna move on to the World Cup. Well, that does remind me that like people were also calling for like them to be banned from UEFA. I think UEFA, if that's not how you pronounce it, which is like the European like soccer, inter-European soccer tournament. Obviously, you've probably heard about like the Israeli Maccabi fans being like barred from various cities around the UK and Europe for like their extreme hooliganism, which, you really have to understand like how bad of a reputation as a hooligan, like for hooliganism, your team has to have in order to get banned from like countries from it. Like it might come across as the Europa League. Sorry. Like people that was called. 'Cause I'm thinking of like the anti-Semitic documentary, but like yeah, you really have to like be pretty bad to have like your fans banned because of hooliganism. American would have trouble understand what real sports hooligans are like. I mean, like, I think the closest America probably has to it is like when Philly goes crazy after like the Eagles or like the whatever like their hockey team is, the Flyers, win anything. Like when, because that's like, it's not quite as bad as like hooliganism, but like just the amount of people I think could give it a run for its money, and like the amount of violence.